Hello. In this video, we're going to be talking about the arc length and sector areas of a circle. And so I have this circle on the right, and my first question asks us to find the arc length, which is labeled S, of this circle. And we know that the arc length is a fraction of the circle's circumference. If you notice that S is this arc, remember it's not a straight line because it's curved, and it's a portion of the entire way around the circle. So there's a couple different ways we can go about this. The first thing we need is the circle's circumference, no matter which way we go about this. And if you remember, the circumference formula is 2 pi r. Now, the radius of this piece is 4 inches. So we can plug that r in, and so my circumference is going to be 2 pi times 4, which ends up being 8 pi inches. For now, we'll leave it like that. The next thing we want to determine is what fraction of the circle we have. Now, the arc length S in question here is being made up of an arc with a measure of 60 degrees. We also know that a circle has a full measure of 360 degrees. So this is 60 of 360, so I put that in a fraction, and if I simplify this, it becomes 1 out of 6. So this arc length, S, is, well, we know we have to do 1/6 of, so times, our circumference. Because the arc is 1/6 of the circle, the arc length must also be 1/6 of the circle. And so I do 1/6 of 8, and so I get 8 pi divided by 6, and so it ends up being 4 pi over 3, and my label is in inches. Okay, and so we know that measurement along the arc for that circle. Now that's not the only way we can do this. I can also find the arc length by setting up a proportion. We know that the full circumference is 8 pi, and my arc length is a portion of that. So the top piece is the arc, where the bottom is the full circle. And so this first column is involving length, and then this column is going to be our angle. And so for the arc, that angle measure is 60 degrees. For the full circle, it's 360 degrees. Now we know we can cross multiply this to figure it out, but before to do that, I can make this a little easier on myself by simplifying that fraction at the right. 60 over 360 is 1/6. So when I cross multiply, I end up with 6s equals 8 pi, and when I divide by 6, s ends up equaling, and again, what can I take out of both of these? A 2, so I'm left with 4 pi over 3, and that's in inches. And that's how we do arc length. Okay, let's talk about area of a sector. In this problem, I want to find the area of this piece. So it's the exact same circle. We still have a radius of 4 inches. The wedge in question here is 60 degrees. So again, like the first one, there's many ways to do this, but the first thing we need, because we're a portion of the area, is the full area of the circle. Now the area formula for a circle is pi r squared. Now my radius again is 4, so I do pi times 4 squared. 4 squared gets me 16, so it's 16 pi square inches. To continue on here, I want to again figure out the fraction of the circle so I can figure out the fraction of the wedge that I'm using. And again, because it's 60 degrees, out of a full circle, which is 360 degrees, I can simplify that fraction into 1/6. So this time, the area of this sector is 1/6 of, which means times, 16 pi. And so I'm going to look to cross cancel here. Between 6 and 16, I can take a 2 out. And so I get 3 and 8. And so we end up with 8 pi over 3, and that's in square inches. And that's the area of this piece. Again, I can do it proportionally. In the proportion version, again, I set up where I know that the area is 16 pi, which is the whole circle, and we want to find a portion of that, so I'll call that A. So again, this is going to be our area piece on the left side. The top is the wedge, where the bottom is the full circle. Okay, and that'll be equal to, and the wedge piece for the angles is 60 degrees out of 360. So just like before, I'll simplify that fraction on the right. We know at this point that it becomes 1/6. I do my cross multiply, so 6a is equal to 1 times 16 pi is 16 pi. And then when we divide by 6, a is, and then when we simplify, again, I can take a 2 out of both things. We end up with 8 pi over 3. And again, the label is square inches. So there is, again, a way to find the area of this wedge. So that's your lesson on finding arc length and sector area. For now, we are done.